Well, welcome to another episode of Whitebeard's Kitchen. What I'm doing today is a chicken bacon pie with a cheese sauce inside it. So this should turn out interesting. So I have roughly about a tablespoon and a half of olive oil heating up there. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to fry my bacon off, and what I'm just using is it's what's called cooking bacon. Use ordinary bacon if you wish, and roughly there's about 200 grams in this. Now I will not be making a very large pie. I'm going to split this, but you can make a large pie with the amount that I have. So I like my bacon kind of reasonably crispy. It's entirely up to you how you like your bacon. So that's the bacon in. I'm going to fry this and I'll show you what it's like, how I like it. It is like kind of slight chunky because it is cooking bacon, so it's kind of the scrag ends of bacon that they use in the factories that make or produce the bacon. Okay, so I'll be back. Right, so what I have in here is roughly about 100 grams of good old Irish, and it's salted butter, so I don't really have salt. I mean, you can use unsalted butter if you wish. So I've got that to melted. I'm going to turn this now kind of to a low, medium low, and what I'm adding in, and this is totally optional in terms of this pie. For me, it's just to bring out a wee bit of flavour. So I have finely chopped half a small carrot, probably a half a stick of even that of celery, and here I have going in as well is roughly a half of a medium, small to medium red onion going in, and I'm just going to saute that down for a little bit. This is where I'll be making, obviously I'm going to mix in my cheese and stuff in with this at 6 to 1, half a dozen of the other. It might change this, so I'm going to saute this down anyhow, and let that render down a little bit, soften the onion, soften the carrot and soften the celery. So that's that little part. Meanwhile, my bacon here, I'm keeping an eye on it. Maybe you can just see the corner of it from this particular shot. So that's still cooking away. Okay, so this is my bacon cooked. This is how I like it. You could use ham, to be honest. This cooking bacon is pretty thick, so use ham if you wish, but that's the colour that I like. I'm going to scoop this now just into a wee bowl, and what I'm going to do is I'm going to cook a chicken in it, and then I'll bring everything together. In the meanwhile, I'm still sauteing down the onions and the celery and the carrot. Okay, so I have this now at a low setting. That's my onions, carrot and celery down as much as I possibly can. So I'm kind of eyeballing this, and I mean, so I'm going to say at the minute I'm adding 2 tablespoons roughly of plain, good old plain flour, and just give that obviously a bit of a mix through. I sometimes, I mean, I can never get the measurements and tell people measurements on this. It's kind of want to make a roux, so I'm going to add some more flour in. So there we are. That's probably about 5 tablespoons of good old plain flour, and shush, pardon me, that's a dog barking. So excuse me, what do you call it? We have a big German Shepherd in this house. He never shuts up. But anyway, so just getting that kind of a mix. Kind of want to thicken that up a bit. God knows what it's barking at, probably a leaf. So still want to make this a little bit thicker. In with more flour. I'm going to say another 2 tablespoons, roughly. So that's 7 altogether. So once I have this, I'll there we are. Got it nice and thick now. I can start adding in the milk. Just adding a dash at a time. And you could slap it all in if you want, but this is the way I like to do it. And obviously it's a bit more chunky than what you would see if you're just making a normal roux with the vegetables in it. And those are only to give just that little bit of extra flavour to the pie or pies itself. There we are. So some more milk in. And do remember, this is where my cheese is going. I'm not making my cheese sauce totally separate. Call it the lazy man's way out. Do that if you wish. I ain't gonna say there's a right or a wrong way. So you kind of get the drift. So I'll be back once I have this sorted to the way that I would like. At the moment, I'm going to add another dash of milk in. And at the minute I've probably used about 400 mils, roughly, I think, of milk. Yep, near enough. And there we are. It's come together quite nicely. So I will be adding more milk because there is about 180 grams of good old cheddar cheese to go into this. So that's going to make it nice and thick. I should have used a larger pot, but hey ho. I may not put as much cheese in. Anyway, I'll be back once I have the base of this ready. Okay, so while off camera, I did decide to transfer this to a larger pot. So up to now 500 mils. I'm just going to thin this down a little bit more. So I'm going to say that's probably about another 75 to 100 mils in. So give that a stir, and what I'm going to do in a minute or two is add in the cheese. And I don't know what grams I said in terms of the bacon, but having looked at it and it shrank, it's probably coming in at about 125 grams, maybe 150 grams of bacon, because obviously you get, when you buy packet stuff or supermarket stuff, there's obviously water content in it. So now what I'm going to do is add in the cheese slowly but surely. And I have here about 175 grams of good old Irish cheddar, and it's mild, or medium rather. I like extra mature, but I think for this I don't want to overpower the pie with a very strong cheese, so this is kind of a medium cheddar that I'm using. So in with a taste more milk. Now, what I like to give it a bit of flavour is just a tiny splash of Worcester sauce, or Worcestershire sauce. Okay, so roughly about 2 teaspoons and a half. And I have this on a low. I have it on my stove top. This pot is kind of a thinnish bottoms. What I don't want to do is burn the ass out of my pot. So now in with some black pepper, that's probably about a teaspoon, just over. And what I'm adding in here is, as you can see, Dijon mustard, a very heaped, that's probably 2 teaspoons of Dijon mustard. Give this a bit of a stir again. And again, I'm going to add some more milk because there's some more cheese in. So probably about another 50 mils of milk. I'm going to say this is probably going to end up almost a litre of milk. However, we will wait and see. And hopefully I don't drop this in. So what I like to do is some nutmeg. So you've got the powdered stuff, use maybe 1/4 of a teaspoon, half a teaspoon probably, for this amount. If you want to do it, this is totally optional, I just like it. So I'm using fresh nutmeg. There we are. That should be enough. Give that a stir around, and as you can see, it's bubbling nicely. I don't want my cheese sauce to be too thin, neither do I want it to be too thick, but I'd rather have it on the thicker side, to be honest. Right, in with the rest of the cheese. So as I say, 175 grams is actually probably a wee bit more, maybe about 185, but anyway, you kind of get the gist. Depends how many, obviously, that you're making this for. This is for one, but I'm not going to eat the whole pie. This will definitely be split. I should be able to maybe get at least 2 decent pies from this. So just melt that cheese down. This is kind of the consistency. Cheese is melted. When this cools down, obviously, it will thicken a bit. I don't want it any thicker. Neither do I want it any thinner. I haven't tasted it, but I will do now. Yep. Cheese sauce is not overpowering. The flour was well cooked out, and that little bit of Dijon mustard, the nutmeg, and the little dash of Worcester sauce, which I'm going to give another dash to, just so there we are. I'm going to say maybe 2.5 teaspoons of that. Now I'm going to add all the flavour into the cheese sauce. So I'm just going to simply use mixed herbs. Because I like herbs. Again, this is optional for you. If you don't put it in. So that's a tablespoon and a half of mixed herbs, or any herb that you like, or no herbs at all. So just give that a mix in. And I don't need to let the herbs cook out, because they will cook out. And it's dried herbs I have. If you have fresh, absolutely better again. Add what you wish. There we are. So that's my probably now cheese and herb sauce done. Okay, so I am going to a little bit of decadence. I'm using the same pan that I fried my bacon in, that I'm now going to fry my chicken in. So scoop over the oil. What I'm going to do is just a small splash of brandy, just to deglaze it. What do I want to say? Maybe 100 ml, not even 100 ml, 75. So I want to get my spatula and scrape all that goody stuff from the bottom. And what I'm going to do is add a tiny piece of butter. I'm going to say maybe 40 grams. Have this kind of on a high heat, just to get it melted, and then we'll turn it down. And while that's kind of now deglazing, I may as well, while the butter is melting, I mean, as everybody knows, I love my garlic. So into my pie, again, totally optional, don't add it if you don't want it. 2 reasonably small cloves of garlic that have just been roughly chopped. So give that a good stir. There we are. Turn this now to kind of a medium low. And what I have is roughly about 400 grams of chicken. So I'm just going to fry that off, cook it, and I'll show you what it's like when I have it ready. The chicken is cooking away nicely. Just to give it that little bit more flavour, I'm going to add in here, just to let it cook, it's roughly about 150 mils of chicken stock. There we are, that's going in. And I just used it. Good old chicken cube, nothing terribly fancy. So I'm going to turn that up now to a high heat, because I want some of that to evaporate while it's cooking the chicken. And just so people, if they really can pick this out, I used chicken thigh and didn't have enough, so I had a chicken breast floating about. So this is a mixture. Ideally, I would prefer chicken thigh, because it's everybody knows this. I think there's a lot more flavour to it. But hey ho, use what you have got. You could use chicken breast, completely if you wish. As I say, mine's a bit of a mix. Okay, so this is my chicken. If you can see it in amongst all that foam. So that's it cooked. What I'm just going to do is add some black pepper. So I'm going to say a teaspoon and maybe a half. Give that a bit of a mix. There we go. Yep. And you see that I have got nice brown pieces on this chicken. It's almost as if it's been roasted. So, and that's what I kind of wanted. So, there we are. Never mind about the bottom of the pan. That's a story for afterwards. Okay, so I'm just going to drain this off, let it cool, and then I will start assembling my little pie, or pies. It'll be a few small pies, I think. In just with a ladle full just off the sauce, or maybe two. Okay, just on the bottom, same with the other. And I'm not going to bore you the details with the prep here, so maybe what I'll do is I'll just do the one and continue with prepping up one of them. Okay, so there we are. So in with a little handful of chicken for this one. So roughly making it about half. Okay, for that, so that should be enough. For that one, maybe a bit too much. And then what I'm going to do, just another little scoop of the sauce. And this will all kind of obviously even out a bit. Okay, so there we are. And just a little handful of the bacon over the top. Now I have to cut my puff pastry, so the size of this, but I'll show you when I have that done. So anyway, so that's the idea. I'll finish off the other one and then I'll come back to you. So a slight change of plan. I'm having a different dinner tonight. So I won't be having, well, I'm not going to have both. So what I'm going to do, you'll see that I have, like, forget about my crimping, it's crap, I know. But anyway, and I don't, to be honest, I'm not really worried whether a pie is fancy or not, you know, as long as it's cooked and it turns out okay. So I'm going to freeze these. So the things have cooled down, and you'll see they're punctured like wee holes just for the steam. So I'm just going to give these like, and I suppose you don't have to, but before I freeze them, I am just going to give them a small lather of egg wash now. And I probably will do so when they come out of the freezer. Particularly if I'm going to slightly defrost, which I may not. I might be able to cook from frozen. I don't know. But anyway, so slight change of plan. However, you will see these when I have them cooked. They will be staying in their dish because it's puff pastry, and trying to cut in nice neat pieces. And I don't have a good eye in my head for straightness or anything like that. My darling wife does that for me because I don't have patience. That's, to be perfectly honest, a most impatient beep that you've ever can imagine that anybody could live with. But anyway, so there we are. That's them ready. Once that dries in a tiny wee bit, and it will go to the freezer. I'll just cover them up in some cling film or plastic wrap of some description. Okay folks, so here we are, the taste test to see what this pie is like. My God, I have surpassed myself in this one. Didn't need salt at all. I can taste the cheese, but also the herbs. The herbs lift it to that next level. It helps cut back on the bacon. That obviously gives it the salty flavour. Really tender. I was worried about in case it was chewy. I have to go, folks. I really am hungry. See you soon. Take care of your family, friends, and everybody else that's around you. Bye for now. Rock on. Take it easy.